Hello, this is Henry, and welcome back to Graphics, Gears, and Wires. I am going to talk some more today about the lander game we're building in Godot. So I'm going to show you today how the surface works, how to procedurally generate the surface so that you can have infinite levels and they'll always be the same, and you don't have to manually build each one. The surface in this game is actually really simple. It's one object. It's got a polygon 2D and a collision polygon 2D. And let me show you it in action here. We've got it on screen, and you can see here this light blue is the surface, this dark blue is space. And every time that I hit the space bar here, we get a new surface generated. And it's always going to maintain, it's not going to go above a certain level, it's not going to go below a certain level, and it's always going to have so many points along the surface. So every time I hit spacebar, we get a brand new surface, and every time a level loads, this function will execute that generates a new surface, and then you'll see the new surface on screen, and you'll play the lander game. So let's take a look at how that's actually built. I'm going to close this. The object itself, you can see here I'm using kinematic body 2D, and it has a polygon 2D and a collision polygon 2D. The collision polygon 2D and the polygon 2D have the same set of, let me show you, the same set of pool vector 2 array nodes, right? So that means what you see and what you collide with will always be the same. I basically drew the polygon 2D in the Godot editor, and then drew the collision polygon 2D directly on top of it so that I could match up the nodes. Really, it's not necessary. You can do all that programmatically, but I wanted to have a representation of it to play with in the editor. So I drew the objects by hand here. And then in the script, which I've attached to the parent node, I'm basically, when we initialize the level, when it's ready, the first thing it does is call initialize. And it checks the level, and if we're on level 0, which means we've just had a call to draw the screen and we're in the interface, we're in the user interface and we haven't started the game yet, don't even draw, don't do anything. If we're not on level 0, it becomes visible, and then it seeds with the level. And this is what makes every time we load a level of a certain number or hit the spacebar to watch a level load for debugging purposes, that's why it's always going to be the same. So the surface array that I'm using, that I'm defining here, this is the pool vector 2 array that we use to define all the points on the surface and all the points on the collision. So I start with an X position and a Y position that's going to be the top left corner of the surface, and then I give it an X distance and a Y distance. And those distances, they're going to change as we build the surface. We're going to use that as like a basis for the surface, but it's going to be a variable based on what we set here. So if I set 64 here, it'll be around 64, but I'll show you how that works in a moment. So we go through surface array.append. The first thing we do is set our first node at 0, 0, the X and Y positions. Here I've just hard-coded 0, 0. I use the code here, start Y, to just decide where I want to start in the up and down direction, because it's going to vary every time we generate the level. What we're basically doing in this code is walking around the object, drawing as many nodes across the surface as we define. In this case, we've got a range of 20, so 20 times it's going to choose a point, and every time it chooses a point, it knows based on the X and Y distance and the random values that we feed it down here, and those random values based on the seed that we set up here, it knows where to put each node. So as it loops through a range of 20 down here, you'll see the X and Y position changes based on these values and the random number. So we walk around the object, basically creating the object from top left all the way over to top right, and then we just draw a square across the bottom, essentially, in this code. So it's pretty straightforward code. If you guys want more code descriptions than I give, you're welcome to it. I try to leave it all on screen long enough so that people can read it and copy it if they want to. But I don't write a whole lot of code here on screen on purpose. I think people find a lot of code writing to be boring. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. This channel's new and I'm just getting going, and I'm interested in what you guys want to see. So anyhow, after we built the object, and as we loop through this range of 20, we're going to append each new point to the surface array. This is the key part. The surface array is applied to the polygon for the collision polygon 2D, and it's applied to the polygon for the polygon 2D. So at the end of this initialization, after we've looped through and created all the points, we assign those two objects that have to match the same array of points. That is really all that's going on in this surface. The only other thing that I wrote was a way to change that surface by pressing a button. That way we can just make sure that it's working. And the changing of levels is going to happen in the main game node, which will, we'll look at this child node and say, hey, draw me a new level. This is the level we're on. I will go through and write a quick little bit of code here just to talk about what I've done here with this UI select. What I've done is the process function runs continuously in Godot for a kinematic body 2D, and every time it's called, it's going to check, is this action just pressed? And I've only done this for debugging purposes. We're never going to want to hit the space bar or something else and regenerate the level in the middle of the game. But to debug it, and because Godot nodes should be able to run on their own, I'm running the surface, and I'm just I'm giving myself a way to interface with it so I can change its level and redraw the map without having to have the parent node attached to it. So this I will take out when I put it into a parent node, or I would even give this its own action rather than UI select. Maybe just give it action regenerate level and then take that out of the settings. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So to do that in Godot, all you do is go up to project settings, and then over here you have input map, and we're going to say generate level and add that. And I'm going to generate a level every time I press the delete key. And every time I press the delete key, it's going to regenerate. And I can add this code. I can add this code now, and I'm going to go ahead and type it out just to talk about that while I'm doing it. I could just change it, but Godot, I love the autocomplete because I forget some of these. I don't use a whole lot of autocomplete and a lot of other like UIs because I know a lot of the functions, but GD script is all still very new to me. It's great that they've got such a good autocomplete in their editor. You can see I just added this generate level to my list of interface functions, and it's right there. I can just add it like that and then delete this other line. And now I'm going to save it, and I'm going to press F5 to run it in Godot. You can either use this little icon or you can press F5 and that'll run your game. And when I press the delete key, now we see our level being regenerated. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about the landing pad and how that works. It's basically going to spawn every time we generate the level and then fall to a place that is safe. And once that has happened, the screen will become visible and the lander will you'll be able to control the lander, you'll be able to play. So I'll talk about that in the next show. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm really appreciating the feedback that I'm getting in the Godot Discord and also in the YouTube comments. So please keep it up. I will keep making videos as long as you guys keep telling me what you want to see. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Thanks.